Today we're back out on the footpath job, and in the previous video we went through and I showed you how to work out how much formwork you're going to need for the job. So today's video is going to concentrate on doing the area calculations to work out how much reinforcing mesh we need and the number of bar chairs that we need to reinforce our footpath. So as you can see, our reinforcements there, and the starter calculations always start with a sketch, just giving you the basic dimensions of the slab, just so you've got a visual in your mind. Now the thing with our reinforcement is we have a thing called concrete cover, or the gap between the edge of the formwork and our actual reinforcement. So this is so that water can't penetrate into the concrete, get into the mesh, start to rust the mesh, and cause what they call concrete cancer. So we need, depending on your personal preferences, you can allow, or you can take that distance off. Generally, for an external exposed slab, it's 40 to 50 mil of concrete cover. So I'm going to use 50 mil just for ease of calculation. So you can reduce the length and the width of your slab by that 50 mil on each side, or 100 mil overall, and work that out. Or if you're not worried about that little bit on such a small job, you can don't need to worry about it. You can just work out what you need and cut it off when you actually get it to the job site. So we go back to the job, the plan, and what I've done here is I've reduced my dimensions by 50 mil on both sides, or 100 mil overall. So 800 comes down to 700. 5 meters 678 comes down to 5 meters 578. So they're going to be the dimensions I work with for my reinforcement calculations. So to work out the amount of mesh that we need, I'm going to use an area calculation. So area is length times width, and I'm going to use my new length and my new width. So 5.678 and 700, times them together, and you get 3.905 square meters of area in this slab. So that's nice and easy. Now, when you go to Bunnings, you're not going to be able to buy, or Bunnings or your local hardware store, whoever you got around at the time, you're not going to be able to buy, point or 3 point something square meters of mesh. You're going to get a sheet, and your standard sized sheet for sort of normal building work is 6 meters long and 2.4 meters wide. You can get smaller sheets. They're called ute sheets because they're made to fit on the back of a ute. They're normally about 2.4 meters sort of long, and or 1.8 long or something like that. They're smaller anyway. So you're going to get a standard size sheet, and you need to know the dimensions of the sheet, obviously. So to work out how many square meters are in a full sheet, in this case 6 meters by 2.4, that gives you 14.4 square meters of reinforcement mesh in a full sheet. So we only need 3.905 square meters. So obviously we're going to need less than a sheet. If you needed more, you might actually work it out how many sheets you need. So 3.905 divided by 14.4 tells you only need 0.2 of a sheet. Okay, so you might go and buy a smaller sheet, or you might just have an offcut. Or if the job was bigger, it might end up that you actually needed more than one sheet. You might have had to buy 2 sheets. So that's how you work out how many sheets you actually need for this footpath. Okay, so in this case we've got to buy 1 if we don't have any around. The next thing is bar chairs. So in a previous picture, here we go. You'll see I've got bar chairs here, roughly every third square. Okay, and each of these squares are generally 200 mil, so it's about every 600 millimeters apart. And what it works out is on a big slab, it's 4 bar chairs in every square metre of slab. Okay, so if we go 3.905 times 4, it gives us 15.62. So there's 16 bar chairs. Now, again, if you go back to the picture and do a quick count, you'll find there's actually 20 bar chairs in that picture. Okay, and that's because this slab's less than a metre wide. So it's going to give us, that formula is going to give us a bit of a false answer. So what you could do to compensate that is just take the length of the slab, which is 5.578, or you could say 6 metres. So that means you could say 6 square metres if it was a metre wide. Times that by 4, that will give you 24 bar chairs, and you'd have heaps. You'd have more than you need. If this was a larger slab, obviously wider than a metre, then your formula will come out and you'll have enough bar chairs. But just because this is under a metre, that formula doesn't quite work, so you have to make a bit of an allowance for that. So there we go. Now we know how much reinforcement we need for our slab. We also know how many bar chairs that we need. If you're doing a shed, you might also want to put a waterproof membrane in underneath your reinforcement. And again, you can use your square meterage to work out how much waterproof membrane you need. But because this is a concrete slab, it's going to be outside. Sorry, it's a footpath. It's going to be outside. We're not too worried about the moisture coming through the concrete and sitting on top. But if you're doing a garden shed or a patio or something, you might be worried about the moisture coming through, so you'd have to put in a waterproof membrane underneath. Just a 200 micron plastic, like 40 kind would be fine. So there you go. There's our reinforcement worked out using area for our footpath.